In Greek mythology, the stories of gods and mortals are filled with unbridled passion, tragedy, and surprising transformations. One of the most enigmatic and captivating is the story of Zeus and Ganymede, a young prince of incomparable beauty. The relationship between the two is a tale that combines love, power, and destiny, in which Zeus's divine love for the young mortal transcends the norms of nature and human laws. Ganymede was the son of King Tros, ruler of Trodia, a region located on the coast of what is now Turkey. From a young age, Ganymede stood out not only for his nobility, but also for his extraordinary beauty. He was so beautiful that, according to tales, the gods themselves marveled at him. His figure is described as perfection itself, with a grace and attractiveness that captured the attention of all who saw him. Ganymede's beauty was so striking that, according to some versions of myth, the Olympian gods themselves were jealous of him. However, admiration for her youth and beauty soon turned into something deeper and more disturbing, particularly in the case of Zeus, the king of the Olympian gods. Zeus, the almighty god of the sky and thunder, was used to be in the center of attention, and his love knew no bounds. Throughout his life, he had had numerous love affairs, with both goddesses and mortals. However, his love for Ganymede was different. The young prince of Troy was not like the other mortals with whom Zeus had had relations. Her beauty not only aroused desire in the god, but also fascinated him in a way that transcended mere physical desire. According to tradition, Zeus observed Ganymede as he tended his father's sheep in the meadows of Troy. The young man, unaware of the power and divinity of the one who looked upon him, was completely oblivious to the fascination his presence caused in the king of the gods. However, Zeus, captivated by her beauty, began to devise a plan to approach him. In his desire to have Ganymede at his side, Zeus decided to use his characteristic ability to transform and assume different forms. Instead of approaching the young man as an ordinary man, Zeus took the form of a giant eagle, a symbol of his own power. In this form, the god descended from the sky swiftly and powerfully, enveloped in a whirlwind. The giant eagle, with its great wings spread, descended upon the meadow where Ganymede was standing. The young prince, distracted by his duties, was powerless to prevent what was happening. The eagle grabbed him in its talons and lifted him into the sky, carrying him high above without anyone being able to stop him. Terrified and confused, Ganymede was transported to Olympus, the abode of the gods, where Zeus received him with singular affection. The story of Ganymede's abduction became one of the best-known myths in Greek mythology, and his love, or desire, for the young mortal would be remembered for centuries. Once on Olympus, Zeus not only made him his, but also gave him a place in his palace. The young prince was honorably received by the gods and, in recognition of his beauty, became the cupbearer of the gods. This was a position of great prestige, as Ganymede was tasked with serving nectar and ambrosia, the divine drinks that granted immortality to the gods. This new role meant that Ganymede was destined to live among the gods, enjoying the immortality and luxury of Olympus. Zeus, in love with the young man, offered him not only a place on Olympus, but also immortality, which meant that Ganymede would never age or die. Some accounts suggest that, in addition to being a cupbearer, Ganymede also became Zeus's lover or consort. Although the nature of their relationship is uncertain in some versions, the connection between the two became an important part of Greek mythology. Furthermore, Zeus, as a token of his love, promised Ganymede that he would be eternally young and beautiful, and that he would enjoy the pleasures of Olympus without the suffering of mortality. Although Ganymede enjoyed an immortal life on Olympus, his abduction was not without tragedy. For his father, King Tros, Zeus's abduction of his son was a devastating blow. The king, desperate to recover his son, offered enormous riches in exchange for his release, but the gods did not respond to his plea. In some versions of the myth, Zeus, to calm Tros's anguish, offered him a gift in gratitude for his son's beauty, divine horses, known as the fastest in the world, which would help the king win battles. The story also suggests that Zeus, in his love for Ganymede, caused the young man to appear in the heavens as a constellation. Aquila, the eagle, was placed beside him as an eternal symbol of his abduction and his transformation into a celestial figure. This constellation became a reminder of the immortal love between Zeus and Ganymede, a love that transcended the boundaries of the earthly and the divine. The myth of Zeus and Ganymede has been interpreted in many ways over the centuries. On a deeper level, it can be seen as a symbol of divine attraction to humanity and the transcendence of human love for the immortal. Ganymede, upon being abducted, becomes a symbol of beauty and eternal youth, a recurring theme in Greek mythology. The relationship between Zeus and Ganymede has also been seen as a representation of the desires and passions that can sometimes lead to divine acts and radical transformations. This myth reflects the complex interactions between gods and mortals, where the boundaries of the possible and the divine often blur, and human beauty becomes a link to the eternal. Although the myth is ultimately a story of power and desire, it also reflects the fragility and unattainable perfection of youth and beauty, as well as the sacrifices made in the name of love. The story of Zeus and Ganymede, with its blend of love, power, and destiny, remains one of the most fascinating legends in Greek mythology. It is a tale that speaks not only of beauty and passion, but also of the complex relationships between gods and mortals, and how love, even when it involves a figure as powerful as Zeus, can transform and transcend the limits of the earthly. If you'd like to learn more interesting stories, you can follow my YouTube channel, Frank Fernandez Historia.